what we are going to do mainly as per an objective for today's practical. Actually, we are going to deal with the transactions, the T-SQL transactions. We are going to create transactions to control the behavior within a given project in question, whatever. We are going to see the transactions in a different way. Why? Because we are going to deal with some constraints to secure our activity. We are going to refer to the exceptions handling process more precisely. So let's dig in and let's solve the issues one by one, and we'll be explaining the process. So first of all, we are required to create a new database, and 6 or 5 entities. We are going to uh, use them later on. Why I'm saying 6 or 5? Because later on we are going to use different, let's say, entities which they are not mentioned in the prior request here. But even though, whatever, we are going to. So let's start by creating our database. I'm going to log into the BMS remotely using the SMS, and as an admin, okay, I'm as SA, so I'm going to refer to my code editor. So okay, we are required to create a database. So today I'm going to create it actually differently. I'm going to create it using the code we used to create a database from here, but for now I'm going to create it. I'm going to create it manually from here. So yes, create. Pass the name here. Let me check the name. This says plot. So I'm going to copy the name. No worries. I have an error, an issue. So there is no dot here. Okay, complete successfully. That's great. So I have to refresh my database type. Size procurement. Here it is. Here it came. Good. Let's continue. So create the following tables, which are the entities. So let me check the syntax of each in order to copy paste and edit. Okay, this is fine. Let me copy paste and then edit them in the code editor here. I'm gonna paste here. Okay, great. What I'm gonna do, create table items. Okay, fine. The syntax is okay. So create the second. Says totals. This okay, whatever. Date time. There is a problem here. Date time. Yes, here it is. This seems to be fine. So I'm gonna highlight all. Minimize the view to see everything. Yes, and execute. Complete successfully means I have generated the 5 tables. Let me just open the tables hive here. It's not there. Let me refresh. Oh my god, actually I have created them. Actually, I made a mistake. See, I created them inside the master, so I'm gonna cancel that. I'm gonna refer to the master database where it is. System master here. Whatever. Actually, I'm gonna just later on I'm gonna truncate them. For now, I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna use the database which we created now. This one I'm gonna copy. Okay, here I'm gonna use go to specify that I'm yes inside this one. Now I'm gonna create those tables. Yeah, successful. Let me refresh my tables here. Yes, here they are. They are the 5 exactly. Good. Just immediately, right after, we are required to create let's say transaction, but we are required to check if there is any issue, and based on that we roll back the transaction. So the transaction mode here is roll back in case of error, otherwise it is a commit. I repeat, we are required to create a transaction to update. We'll talk about this update, but the transaction has to roll back in case of errors. If not, it has to be explicitly actually set to commit. So the commit is the transaction mode of this transaction, and if there is any error, in case of errors, we are going to roll back. Okay, regarding the update here, it's so we are going to first of all we're going to fill up those entities. We did not fill anything actually; they are empty so far. So we are going to update them. Good. So here, if I'm gonna select star, for example, from the items, the first, yes, here it is. Nothing is there. We have the schema, yes, the architecture of this entity, but it's empty. So I'm going to insert something here. So I'm gonna let's say insert into, let's say, items. Yes, here it is. Values. First element item ID. It's an int, so I'm going to say 1. Comma. The second one is item name varchar, so I'm going to say here I'm going to say steel, for example. Yes, comma. Third field made country, so it's a varchar, so I'm going to say Oman. Oman, yes, great. So nothing, that's it. I'm going to now, I'm going to execute this statement. Great, yes, has been affected. Now let me check the content of these items. Yes, we have the elements, the steel, the one, the Oman, the steel, the one, the Oman. That's great. Now, according to the question, let's create a transaction that updates the totality of the entities, all of them, means the 5 of them. We're going to update them using a transaction, but it has to be actually explicitly set to commit. And later on, we'll talk about this one. For now, let's create a transaction simply that updates, that inserts, that populates those entities. And we talk about the transaction mode in just in a while. Great. I'll keep everything like is as is. I'm gonna say the, were we required to generate any name for the transaction? No, no. So nothing. Just because there is a secret here. I'm gonna come back later and explain why, if we have to use the name or not. So for now, I'm gonna just immediately I'm gonna start the beginning of a transaction, and the transaction has to do, for example, an insert items. I'm not gonna use the into. I'm gonna immediately start with the name values. What values? Here I'm gonna say 2 um, single quotations. I'm gonna say for example iron, and again it's Oman, the country. So okay, I have mentioned the beginning of the transaction. I'm not gonna set the transaction mode. I do not have any mode here. I'm not gonna specify any mode. So it's like that. So I'm starting a transaction. The idea why I'm writing 2, because already we have 1. So I'm gonna pass from 1 to 2. So let me execute. So execute. Yes, affected. What does it mean? Affected means we have inserted. So let me check the content. Yes, we have 2. And this transaction has only inserted values in these items. I'm gonna right after I'm gonna insert another, let's say, field 2. I'm gonna populate the second, the sales totals. This is the one. Here, insert sales values. What are the fields now? Sales total, we have an int. First of all, I'm gonna say 1. Then item name, let's say still it's a varchar. Then make country, I'm gonna say Oman. Okay, then sale date. I'm gonna say today's date. I'm gonna say 7/4/2021. Anything else? No, that's it. So I have two fields to be two. Let's say things here actually because we inserted already this one. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change the values only. So 3. Here I'm gonna say sugar. Any item. Also the country is Oman. Leave it. So here I'm gonna launch. I'm gonna activate this transaction with 2 queries. So I'm gonna execute. I have a problem here. Let me just give me a second. So um, I come back here. Actually, we have an issue here. Why? Because he's clearly, sorry, he's giving me an alert. So typos here. Yes, that's great. Yes, here it is. So let me execute again. Great. So I have two things I have two things that have been updated in this way. Let me select again these items. Steel, iron, sugar, all of them. They are here. 1, 2, 3. That's great. So let me add another query inside the same transaction. Inside the same transaction, actually the third query to update the third entity. So let me use them actually in just one line, all of them, to gain space. Be very clear, easy to read. Yes, again. So I'm going to insert to the third entity, which is the invoices. We are yes, sorry. We are inserted and we are passing those queries into the same query without any transaction mode. So remember that. So the invoices has the first element, which is an ID. Also, I'm going to say 1. The second element is item name. Is type there. I'm going to say
مستر
yes. Then
ما واجد واضح الخط.
yeah, because I'm minimizing the view. Yeah, great. So item name, then quantity. Quantity is about still. I'm gonna put it into quotations. I'm gonna say, let's say 10, whatever. After quantity, we have by date. Is the date time? Which is the date time? That's good. So let's finish. Date time. I'm gonna put today's date, 7/4/2021, in between single quotations. Okay. Now immediately without any delay, because I know it will work. Actually, I'm gonna update. I'm gonna insert values in all the entities. So we have invoice and we have then paired invoices, and then after we have the last one, which is the foreign customer. So I'm gonna insert values in all of them. The paired invoices we have int, then the item name, and then the quantity the same, and then after we have the paired date. So the same structure. So I'm gonna say the same structure. Yeah, whatever. For the foreign customer, I'm gonna put the customer ID, and then after the customer name, then the contact title. Let's fill those 3. Here I'm gonna say Ali. Contact whatever. What is the third field? Yes, contact title. I'm gonna say here students. What else? After contact title, we have the address, and then after we have the reg date. The address and the reg date. So the address, I'm gonna say Niswa, for example. I forgot, What is the last? The reg date. Reg date, I'm gonna say today's date. So 7/4/2021. Okay. Now, how many statements we have? We have actually one statement, which is one transaction. And how many queries we have? We have 5 queries. So let's execute them all now. Here, I'm going to execute the transaction. What I'm going to do now, I'm executing the transaction. Affected, affected, affected. That's great. Do I have any commitment? No. Do I have a transaction mode? No. Okay, let me check the content of any. Now, select star from item. Select star from, let's say, invoices. Yes. Here it is. That's great. That's great. It has been done. Select star from paid invoices. I'm going to select all actually. Select star. Come on. Yes, here it is. I'm going to select and check. Yes, it is working very fine. Then the sales total first. Here. Let's start from this. I'm respecting the sales total. Yes. Yes, it works very fine. Actually, it has been executed 2 times. Okay. Uh, Bad invoice after that, foreign customer. Let's start foreign customer here. Yes, it has been student. So everything is very fine. So it works very fine. It means it was successful. This transaction has been executed successfully. So now we generated a transaction that does that. But the question said a transaction that has to explicitly set transaction mode. And in case of issues, we roll back. Let's set the transaction mode uh, specifically and let's say precisely and effectively, just simply at the end of the. I'm gonna set the transaction mode I need here. Actually, it says an explicit. He's clearly asking us to do it in an explicit mode. So explicitly, I said commit, and this commit is to be applied on what? On this run. On this run. I'm gonna execute now. Affected, affected, affected. You see, what does it mean affected, affected, affected 5 times? It means this one, this query has been executed, 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 the 5 of them, they have been executed. Okay, let me check now the select. For example, select the first one to check the content. It has all the elements and with the repetition. The second one, with the repetition, but it has data. Because repetition, why? Because we executed transaction more than one time, more than once. Yes, the customers. Yes, we have them too, Ali. So it has been working very fine. See what I'm gonna do now. See what I'm gonna do now. Just to bring your attention to, because before we continue to the question, I'm gonna just bring your attention to whenever we try to do an explicit rollback. With the rollback, I'm doing it on the same transaction. I'm gonna highlight, execute. Actually, when we select it was data. Let's execute. Affected, affected, affected. Let's execute. Let's see actually all of them. This one empty. No, it has one data. Sorry, one record. That's good. The second one, the sales total. So yes, the sales total empty. The invoices empty. The paid invoices empty. Foreign customers empty. All they have been rolled back. All the queries they have been rolled back. Why it has been rolled back? Because we roll the event which we did in the same transaction. The transaction here, it is not given a name. We use the keyword tran. The tran here is a keyword to indicate that this is a transaction. This is the start of a transaction, and always it comes before this transaction mode, which is the rollback. It would be actually considered. It is the same. It is the scope of that transaction. To do the same thing, I'm gonna actually here. I'm gonna return this one again to be commit, and I'm gonna execute again. Affected. Let me execute any of them. It has data now. Any. It has data. Let me come back to the items first. Items, it was with one record. Now it is with two records. That's great. So it works very fine. So it works with us. See what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy the full block. Before I copy, I'm gonna give a name to this transaction now. I'm gonna do the same thing but with a name now. I'm gonna say user defined UD run. Not run. I'm gonna user defined new inserts. Oh, new insert. It's user defined. See, it's written in green, so it's a user defined name. I'm gonna execute everything. I'm gonna change the values first of all to make it more understandable for us. Let's say here it's milk from Oman, also staying here. Still, let it be number 2, and here I'm gonna say it's cement. Oman also the same date, whatever. Here it's 2, and here let's say it's iron quantity. Let's say it's 5, 7, same date. For the paid invoice it's 2, and here it's for the iron. I'm gonna say, and quantity I'm gonna say it's 5, the same date. Here I'm gonna say 2, and I'm gonna say whatever Fatma student needs one same date. Okay, that's good. So here for this transaction now, I'm gonna execute. It has been affected. Let's check the customers first of all. Yes, we have Ali and Fatma. That's great. It has been executed. This is the Fatma. It is mentioned there. So everything works very fine. Actually, if I select, it works very fine. So it has been done. Invoices. So these are the invoices we added. This one with 5. Yes. So very fine. Very fine. Very fine. See, I'm gonna roll back now. I'm gonna roll back. Roll back. So here, see what I have. I'm gonna roll back. Execute. Path menu. Customers. Let's execute. Fatma is there. Fatma is there. So we have something different now. Actually, for this transaction here, rollback transaction, because I'm saying um, differently. I'm not. It is not. It is not seeing the same view. So rolling back here with the rollback, still available with that. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna commit with a name. Keep the name user defined. So I'm gonna commit. Sorry, commit. I commit this one and keep the name there. So in order when I commit, it has to be commit. It's not system by default name. So uh, let's come back to the question and to the request specifically. So we have to explicitly set the transaction mode, and we did that. Now, in case of failure, we have to roll back. In case of failure, only in case of failure, only in case of failure. So here, actually, we're not going to make the statement pass. Simply, we have to, and the failures actually, since he's asking us in case of failure, so it is a runtime error only. It cannot be happening when developing. So we cannot talk about if there is an error while creating or while developing or while implementing. No, it cannot be said like that. So while implementing, it has only to be only correct statements when writing the solution. But when running, there might be actually some issues depending on the run cases. So here it's an exception handling scenario. It's an exception handling scenario. The full transaction, which is actually in between our hands. Here we are going to put it in a scenario where to control its process, either to run correctly or we launch an exception, either to run correctly or to run an exception. Simple syntax, for the exception handling here. So like we have actually a beginning and let's say a termination of the transaction, which is starts with the begin and let's say the transaction mode, the commit or the rollback. Here we are going to use the same keywords for the exception handling process. I'm going to write it here. I'm going to write it here, and then I'm going to put it in place. So I'm going to begin. here the exception handling case. So it is a simple begin try, and then after I have an and try. Simple. So this is a block that indicates that I'm trying to, what it comes in between here. It is a thing that can the system will understand that it is to be controlled. The system will understand we are controlling the content here. Control in the sense of in runtime, if there is a issue, there will be a block to come later. There will be a block to come later to be fired instead. And here, try, catch. So either to execute this one, the system, if there is any issue in runtime period, he will launch this, he will execute this block, the catch block. Simple. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut this. Yes, I'm gonna cut this block. Cut, put it here. Simple like that, like that. So let me just send it forward a little bit, one step. So try begin the try here. We execute the transaction. The transaction content are those 5 statements. Great. So now we have a block to execute. If correctly executed, that's it. If any issue within this block here, within this content here, this block will be executed. What to do here? Just simply, I'm gonna say whatever. Print between single quotations. I'm gonna say runtime exception happened. Simply. Here, after this transaction commitment here inside the try, only I'm gonna confirm that it has been actually run successfully. So I'm gonna print a screen and print a statement to say that it is successfully run. Successfully run. Clear. Very simple. So if inside the try, it will execute those processes and print me this message. Otherwise, it will launch this block. Let me highlight all from here up to here, and let me execute. Execute affected. Successfully run. You see the message here? Successfully run. From where it get? It is this one. The runtime exception is not mentioned, and it's not, let's say, fired. It's not written here. It's not displayed. Why? Because it did not get executed. It did not get executed. What I'm gonna do now, see, I'm gonna say here, I'm gonna just add something here. Write in capital. Print 5 divided by 0. Okay, simple. I add this block here. Actually, it's an exception. It's a mathematical exception. Whatever. I'm gonna execute the block again, once again, and see what would happen. Affected. Successfully run. Runtime exception happened. You see this runtime exception happened. Why? Because of this subdivision. It did not print. See, I'm going to change it to 5 by 5. Divide 5 by 5. So again, execute 1. What is this 1? What is this 1? It is the print of 5 by 5. I'm going to change the position of this print 5 by 5 to put it at the beginning here, before the transaction here, print 5 by 5, then after the transaction, then after the message, the successful message. So here I'm going to highlight, execute again. Yes, see the one where it came. I'm going to launch the exception here. I'm doing actually the thing to bring you an assembly to something. Just look now. Only runtime exception happened, execute. Nothing. There is no affected. See, I'm gonna change this one to be a command. So I'm gonna execute again. So it is a command. I'm gonna execute again. So I see affected, successfully run. So affected for all of those queries. Then after successfully run, that's it. Now, if we have an exception, the exception only will be launched. This is around. There will be no affected because the exception has been seen already. This is an exception, no? See, I'm gonna print this. I'm gonna print this 5 divided by 0 outside of this block outside of the transaction. I'm gonna execute it by itself. You have an error. No, it's an error. An error. It's a runtime error. It's a runtime error. Divided by 0. It's not allowed. Delete it. Come back. Okay, let's come back to our question. So we handled the issue. So we handled the exception. That's great. That's great. So that's great. So we pass to the second part of task number 2, which is to create two schemas. We are required to create two schemas, sales and employees, and put the tables accordingly. The tables, we segregate them according employees in employees schema, and the other tables in the sales schema. What does it mean? Let's see. Let's see. See here. All the tables we have, they are in the DBO, database owner schema. DBO, 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 DBO. They are all inside the in the DBO schema. So let's list all the schemas. Select. I'm gonna say name from sys dot schemas where there's no. Well, just I'm saying S, no. So S here. I give an S name here. Let's select. Yes, I have that. So the schemas I have amongst of them is the DBO, the database owner, DBO. So the question asked us to create two schemas, which are the sales and the employees. Let's do that. Let's do that. Create schema. So check this the spelling. So successfully set. And the second one, create schema employees. Employees. Okay, go. Successful. Let's check the schemas available now. The DBO is already there. Employees, here it is. And sales. Where is the sales? Yeah, these are the sales. Here they are, both of them. What we created now. We create them now. Okay, let's start. So we have entities actually. The entities we have. The foreign customers, will put this foreign customer under the schema employees. The others, the invoice items, paid items, and sales totals, they are in the sales schema. We transfer the foreign customers entity under to be belonging to the employees schema. We do not have to take time here, you know. See what I'm typing, dbo dot. Successful. Refresh. It is under the size. No, actually, we made an issue. So the foreign customers, they have to be in the employees. The employees, not the. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna just create a new one for your understanding. Transparent. Execute. Foreign customer, because it does not exist. Yes, because it is not on the DBO. It is not on the DBO. It is at the sales. So I'm gonna say sales. Successful. Let's check. Refresh again. Yes, now it is under the employee. See, here it is. The others, they are sales. So I'm gonna do the following. alter schema size on sphere. Result. Let's go. Successful. Go dot add invoices. Successful. The third, the items. Successful. And the last, sales total. Sales totals. Sales. Check the spelling. Yes, totals. It is. Execute. Successful. Let me now refresh. Yes. Okay, set properly. Yes, great. Let's pass to our process now. Let's pass to our question and process required here. Create new users, and we are going to grant them different privileges, make them be linked to a specific schema where they can execute entities in that schema only in within that schema only. So as per the example we are given here, two usernames, Lucy and Sally, whatever, Ali and Mukhtar. Ali will be belonging to the employees schema. Mukhtar or whatever will be linked to the sales schema. Let's do that. First of all, I'm gonna create a user. Absolutely, I have to create the user. This is for sure. And then so create. Say user. I'm gonna say Ali with your default underscore schema. Ali is we said let's be employees. Okay, same spelling. So execute. I have issue employees. How it is. I have. I'm gonna copy paste. Yes. Let me execute. Did I miss anything? No. Actually, it has to be an affectation. It is an affectation. Sorry for that. Still, Ali is not a valid login, or you do not have permissions to do so. Yeah, because exactly. So let me see the message here. Ali is not a valid login, or I do not have the permissions. The permissions I do have because I'm the system admin. I do have. Who am I? It's the system admin. Here it is. Good. So this exception is to be omitted. The second exception is the case. Ali is not a valid login. What should I do? I'm gonna create this Ali here. Um, Come back to the security logins. I do not have Ali here. And also for this same database, security here, users. I'm gonna create Ali here. I'm gonna create Ali here. So because I want this Ali to be inside the database, this sales procurement only. I'm gonna say Ali only. Ali is small. Login name is Ali. Default schema, it is given here. It is given to us here. But I'm gonna leave it like that for now. Is not a valid login, or you do not have a permission to do so. The same message we are getting. The same message we are getting. See this the process I'm going through. I'm gonna create a user now in the login, not in the users here. In the login here now. So new login. It is Ali. I'm gonna give him a mixture in the access way. So SQL Server authentication also. I'm gonna say what? I'm gonna give the same password. Okay, passing the password. Okay, the password and confirm password fields. Okay, they are not the same. Come on, I don't know much still. Okay, yes, done. Now let me create this Ali with the schema, the default schema employees. Yes, successful. Is successful. Great. Let's create the second user with yeah, I'm gonna say Mukhtar with the sales employee. A sales schema. Let me check the spelling. Yes, it is sales. The same spelling. Okay, let's execute. The same error message. Either you do not have permission, which is not the case, or it's not available. So immediately, without making the thing actually long, I'm gonna create a new login here with the same name here, Mukhtar. So I'm gonna give him the authentication mixture mode. I'm gonna give the same password. What is my password, Huda? What is my password? Do you know what is my password? Are you able to expose my password? I'm missing me myself. I'm missing it. Let me try. Yeah, see. Yes, it worked very fine. Let me execute again now. Okay, successful. That's great. So we have Ali, that he has a role to control these employees, and we have this Mukhtar that has the role to control this schema. Okay, great. We grant now the last process is to grant each different privileges. So immediately without fail, they are per title of example only. So the those queries they are to be granted. Each will give him actually for this case here, I'm gonna give, for example, the Mukhtar. I'm gonna give him the select, the insert, the update, the delete. So on his respective schema. So I'm gonna the sales, because we have four entities here. Four entities we have that on the sales. The invoice, the paid invoice, the items, and the sales total. So I'm gonna start with that. So grant, grant. I'm gonna say Mukhtar select. Let's say delete. That's it. It's enough. Schema. I'm gonna say sales. I'm gonna say on. Okay, so here, in this case, actually, this is the common sense here. But I'm not gonna use here the name because I want to specify immediately the queries I need. Two. Here, I'm gonna say the user I need. مختار. Execute. Okay, successful. Successful. I'm gonna insert. I'm gonna. That's it. That's it. That's enough. I'm gonna grant the others for again for the Ali to Ali. Grant, for example, insert, comma, update, delete, truncate. Enough. On the second schema, which is scope resolution operator. Those are four dots. Scope resolution operator here. Uh, employees. Two. Oh, is مختار. One. Okay. Execute. I have an error. No worries. I'm gonna. I'm gonna say alter here. Okay. Yeah, we don't. Okay. Yes, that's good. Done. Successfully set. Okay, I'll stop at this level. I'll stop at this level. I need you to record all the steps. It is in front of you. It is in front of you until I send you the recording. It is in front of you until I send you the recording.